2017 football season got started with a bang as our Lions went on the road and pushed UL Lafayette to literally the very last play. Trailing 49-42 with 3 minutes left to go in the game, our Lions marched 95 yards and scored with under a minute to play. At this point, Southeastern went for the win and 2 points, but came up just short and dropped the heartbreaker to the Cajuns. Southeastern dominated the stat sheet as our offense put up over 500 yards of total offense, including over 350 on the ground. And even though this is a disappointing loss, I think this game shows what kind of team we could have here in Hammond this year. But it's critical for our Lions to clean up the mistakes and get ready for the home opener this weekend against Bethune-Cookman. Good evening, Lion fans. I'm Alan Waddell, and I want to welcome you to the Ron Roberts Radio Show live from our home, Tofly Catering, right here at 113 East Thomas in downtown Hammond. Thank you so much for joining us, and we'll be with you until 8 o'clock. Over the next hour, we'll get Coach Roberts' thoughts on the season opener, and then turn our attention to the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats as they come to Hammond for a 7 o'clock kickoff this Saturday in Strawberry Stadium. Let's take a timeout. When we return, I'll be joined by the head coach of your Southeastern Lions, Ron Roberts. Listen to the Ron Roberts Radio Show on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
In Southeast Louisiana, one luxury automobile dealership stands apart from all the rest, Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans. It's more than just offering Mercedes-Benz vehicles, it's Star Service that prides itself on customer relationships.
From valet service and Mercedes-Benz loaner cars, our customers enjoy award-winning Star Service. Come see what Star Service is all about.
Visit Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans on Veterans in Metairie or at mbofno.com.
What does it mean to be Southland strong?
It's not just big wins.
It's success in the classroom and being engaged with service, family, passion, integrity,
overcoming adversity,
hard work and dedication,
bettering people around you,
striving for excellence,
leadership and competition
on our campuses
and in our communities.
We are Southland Strong.
Telling commits our doctors and trainers.
All right, welcome back inside Tofly Catering. This is the Ron Roberts Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us here tonight. Just a reminder, this is the last time this year we will be on Tuesday night. For the remainder of the season, we will be doing our show on Monday nights from 7 to 8 o'clock. So I want to thank everyone who came out here tonight. But from this week on, we will be Monday nights from 7 to 8 o'clock. At this time, we're going to welcome to the show. The reason you're all here, the reason you're listening wherever you may be on our network is to hear from the head football coach of our Southeastern Lions, Coach Ron Roberts. Coach, thanks for being here. Obviously, an exciting way to start the 2017 season. I know you're disappointed the way it ended up, that we weren't able to get that two-point conversion, but that was a heck of a college football game we saw on Saturday.
Yeah, it was a heck of a game. You know, it was great for fans to watch too. Exciting ball game. There's a lot of positives we took out of it. There was a lot of things, great things I did see from our ball club, how they responded to some things, adversity, and how we conduct our business down the road. I mean, the biggest thing you take away is how hard we played, and then to take the ball 95 yards, and at the end of the ball game, the opportunity to win, to get a couple key stops there at the time, to get our offense back on the field, an opportunity to do that. There were some positive things, obviously, you see, too. I don't want to jump too far ahead, but special teams, we did have, a kickoff unit, our recovering unit, kickoff return unit, our punt return unit did well. And then there's some things, obviously, we got to get fixed.
Yeah, we talked about it last week, how a lot of times in week one, because there's no preseason football in college football, that a lot of times those live special teams certainly can make a difference in the ball game, and it did both ways. We had some big punt returns, they had the kick returns, so those were almost a wash in there, but I know that's certainly something you're going to have to clean up from week 1 to week 2.
Yeah, there were some things. I mean, the things there are coachable, corrections and things to make, to fix. Some of them are, just simple things of, kids getting in that first live situation and struggling to adjust or to get their job done. Some of them are personnel decisions. You got to make those decisions and move people around and actually make changes. I think we'll go into that this week and try to fix some things, and we'll get it done before Saturday.
Ron, I think after week 1, a lot of people try to figure out, is UL good? Are we good? Trying to figure out those type of things after week 1. But if you look at this team, the Cajuns were one of the better teams in the Sun Belt last year. I think actually we're number 1 in the Sun Belt in rushing defense last year, only gave up about 136 yards per game. You put up 350 yards on the ground on those guys. So obviously the offense was rolling over 500 yards. This was a good defense with a lot of players coming back, and your offense really made a statement in this one.
Yeah, I think going in, we talked about. I think that one of our stronger points right now is our not only the veterans we have up front on offensive line, but also some newcomers are coming in there. The depth that we have. We actually in the ball game had 3 starters go down, and we had 2. At one point, we had 2 true freshmen in there on offensive line. Did a heck of a job. I mean, they're going to be great football players, and so we ended up playing about 10 offensive linemen through that thing. Some of them by necessary. We had a little cramping problem in game 1, so the 2 of them go down by cramps, and the other one gets banged up. And I thought the guys came in there and did an exceptional job. And then our backs, speak for yourself, Eugene Bethea did everything we expected him to do with what he had in the spring and the fall camp. He just rolled it into game 1, and really looked impressive.
I want to talk about Eugene just a moment. You brought him up right there. Obviously had a big game in this one. 23 carries, 187 yards, a couple of touchdowns along of 42, averaged over 8 yards per carry in the game. And this is a guy who's kind of waited his turn a little bit, because we've had so many good backs here, and this kind of has plugged his way in there, and he made the most of his opportunity here in his senior year. His first game comes out the gate with a bang. Like I said, 187 yards. I think he had over 100 at halftime in this game, as he was tremendous carrying the football.
Yeah, and he's done. I mean, he had a tremendous spring. He's been successful times here before. Last year got a little banged up and didn't really get rolling, and kind of got caught in the mix, kind of got down the depth chart, but had a great spring, had a great fall camp, and has looked incredible. He's 230 pounds, and he's very strong. Kid squats over 625 pounds. I mean, people don't realize how strong. And the kid's a bull. I mean, and people don't want to tackle him all night. So.
And you could see that. You could see that there in the fourth quarter, and then it was able to, we didn't know how much Juice would play. He came in and had a few carries. I mean, he obviously showed his explosiveness. His second carry of the season, he goes 54 yards for a touchdown.
Yeah.
But running back is certainly an area that there's a lot of depth this year. I mean, one of the guys that stood out in camp, Delmonte Hardy, didn't carry the ball in this game. So there's just a lot of guys that can really carry the football for your team. And is it going to be one of those things week to week, just kind of ride the hot hand? Is it going to be one of those situations?
Well, I think they're all going to play. I mean, we feel like we really got 4 that can play, so they all deserve the opportunity to play. But whoever does get the hot hand is going to get the most majority of the carries. Right now, probably that being either Juice or Gene. But Darren Johnson does exciting things there. Darius Rawls kind of got his niche. He's more of a speed guy. He's doing a lot of the perimeter stuff for us and those things. But we feel pretty solid about those guys.
Ron, let's talk about Lorenzo Nunez for a moment. We talked about it going into the game, about the quarterback position, whether 2 guys would play. The offense was rolling so much early, just decided to stick with Lorenzo. Certainly, he was outstanding. I mean, he did turn the ball over a couple of times through interception, had the pitch. That was a little miscommunication on the option pitch. But over that, I thought he showed great poise, especially in the second half, bringing us back a couple of times, making some big-time throws, some nice plays with the legs, and we're able to improvise a little bit. Talk about his performance, his first start for Southeastern, and really his first meaningful playing time, maybe in college football. He did play at South Carolina, had a couple of starts over there for the Gamecocks, but that was a couple of years ago.
Right. Yeah. I thought I was impressed with him. I was real pleased with how he played. He had some plays. Obviously, he'd love to have back. But the biggest thing I've noticed about him, and you don't get that until you get into the game time, but how calm he was in the game, how poised he was, how much of his leadership did step up in the game. And when he got in those crunch times, he didn't bat an eye. He has the composure you want behind the center, and I thought he really handled himself well. And he's just going to get better with the opportunities.
And Ron, one of the questions about him was how well he could throw the football. Throw it in big situations where they knew you were going to throw it, and it seemed like he was able to do that. I mean, we had several third and long. He made the great play. Obviously, the pass play there with 40 seconds left to give us an opportunity to win the game to Niger Jackson. But I think on that last drive, he had that rollout where he hit Dickey over there on the right side of the field. I mean, he made some big time throws in some tight windows as well.
He did, and he's got the ability to extend some plays, and you saw him do that. Protection. We had some protection breakdown there. A couple times in pass, you see him get out on the perimeter and create some things with his feet or extend a play until somebody gets open. And those are great things. Those are the things that hopefully he was going to bring to the table. Just that added dimension and ability to extend a play.
Ron, let's talk about Max Lyons for a moment. His first game returning punts for your team certainly started this season with a bang. He runs the first punt. He has an opportunity back for a touchdown, a 60-yard touchdown return, and then later on in the first quarter brought one down to the 4-yard line. So big plays in the punt return game out of Max Lyons. Looked very comfortable back there fielding punts. Actually fielded both of those kind of on the run and was able to do that. And for his efforts, he was named Southland Conference Special Teams Player of the Week in Week 1. I think we went all last year and didn't have a Player of the Week the whole week either.
Probably.
But it was nice to have him recognized here in Week 1. But Max certainly showed some explosiveness and some electricity back there returning punts.
Yeah, I love Max. I mean, he's just the way he handles his business. He's just a little tough kid, kind of throwback. He just do whatever you ask him to do, and we put him back because we trust him a lot. I mean, that's the biggest thing you got to find in a punt return. It's not always a speed guy. It's the guy you trust is going to make good decisions. Okay, when he's going to run, when he's going to fair catch, and the guy you trust is going to hit the return the way it's supposed to be hit, and he did that, and then obviously showed his ability to make people miss and get in the end zone.
Ron, before we go to a break, I wanted to ask you about your defense. You look at the score, 51-48. You say, hey, defense maybe didn't have that great of a day, but if you look deeper into it, held them to only 360 yards of offense in this game. And what I thought stood out to me was there was a few times in the second half especially that they had an opportunity to extend that thing, where they had a 1-score lead and they maybe could have got it to a 2-score lead against us, and then every time your defense turned them away. Talk about the play of your defense in this game against ULF.
Yeah, I mean, the biggest knock was there were some big plays, either because of missed tackles or most of it was missed tackles. The big run down the sideline, there was a screen they hit that was pretty big. That we missed a couple tackles on the 2 explosive plays. Those are the things you got to eliminate. Besides that, I thought I think there's a really talented group of receivers we faced, and I thought our guys did a pretty good job of doing that, because really going into it, we didn't know how our matchup was going to be. We went in and didn't find out till Friday that our starting corner wasn't going to play. I don't know if people know. It's nothing big. It's just he's an internationalist from Canada, and he had to provide some other documents to NCAA that they didn't ask for earlier. So Shamar Busby did not play in the ball game, so we didn't even know. We didn't find out till Friday that he wasn't going to play. So then it really kind of threw some other guys in situations. We had to move some guys around, but I really thought they responded well to it. There's obviously things we want to play better, and we got to play more consistent. And there's some guys that came in. We talked about that there's guys that I like to play a lot of people, but those guys coming in have got to come in and play consistent. They can't not be a drop off in the level of play. And so we're really pushing them as hard this week. But you've got to be able to come in and give us 15, 20 snaps, and we can't have a drop off.
What about your D-line? How do you feel like they performed? We talked about it all going into the week. Not a whole lot of guys with quality snaps in college football. This was a lot of their first time. How do you feel about the way they played in this game?
Yeah, I think it was a good start. There was a couple of I was really pleased with Fred Brown. I was really pleased with that. John Miller. I think those two I thought played well. The rest of them, again, made some mistakes, a little inconsistent at times than what we're looking for. But there was some bright spots with that. And again, they faced we knew they were going in. They were a big, experienced offensive line, and for that part of it, I thought they did pretty well on the run game.
All right, let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk more about this game against UL Lafayette right here on the Ron Roberts Radio Show on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
Renday's Quick Stop is a proud supporter of Southeastern Athletics. Located at 306 West University Avenue in Hammond, right across the street from campus, Renday's is conveniently open 24/7 and serves hot Greek and Lebanese food. They also have great snacks for those late-night study sessions. They have friendly service and a wide assortment of wine and beer for all your needs. Stop by today and line up.
Welcome back inside Topline Catering here. As we're about 18 minutes into our program. Thank you so much for joining us. Another reminder that this is our final week on Tuesday night. We'll be back on Mondays from here on out for the rest of the season from 7 to 8 o'clock. I know one thing about doing this on Tuesday night, coaches, you'll come right off the practice field. I know you were walking right in here, and y'all got a little delay here today, huh, with some lightning and stuff, but y'all already been practicing.
We had a lighting delay, so I came right out, showered, and ran over here as fast as I could.
You did great.
Well, thank you. Appreciate that.
Also, I know that we have some special people that are listening back home, and we're listening to the game. Mr. Wayne Vicknair, Miss Dorothy Vicknair, just proud Lion fans, and Mr. Wayne battling some health issues. So obviously, we want to say we love you and line up to the Vicknairs.
Definitely.
Certainly. Ron, let's talk about the game this past week. I know we've touched a little bit kind of in general, but we'll kind of walk through. There's a lot of points. Obviously, we're not going to talk about every score and all that. But first of all, it was a good atmosphere for college football. I know we were all very excited to see this game back on the schedule, the first meeting since 1981. And it lived up to the hype. And there was a good crowd. We had a lot of Lion fans come over there. They had a big crowd on hand, and it was certainly a good atmosphere for college football to start the season.
Yeah, I think it's a great game. I would love it to be a consistent game. As far as when we play those FBS opponents, I know our fan base would much rather travel in Louisiana and travel and play a familiar foe than go out of state. It's something that a lot of our fan base can travel to. They have a lot of experience with. There's a history there between two schools, and I think it would be a great game if we continue it as often as possible.
Well, Ron, just to call it like it is, I mean, it was a little bit of a buzzkill there, though, at the beginning of the game. We kick off to them, they run it back for a touchdown.
You're telling me, huh?
Yeah, no doubt.
Yeah.
But one thing, though, is that I've had an opportunity just with you guys as I'm down on the sidelines for the game, doing the radio broadcast, and there was no panic on your team. And I thought that was pretty impressive because we've been talking all week. You need to get off to a good start. Get off to a good start. Did not get off to a good start, but did not panic. And did you feel that as well on the sideline?
Yeah, I mean, I think it was a little buzzkill, but you know, just you're shaking your head, but you got to go on to the next play. You know, something we've been preaching to our kids, and I think, like I said, the thing I like most about this group is I think they're mentally tough. I think they listen. I think they're physically tough. I think they're taking all the things we're saying, they're taking embracing how to handle themselves and how to handle a football game, which gives you an opportunity to come back, which gives you an opportunity to do those things like a 95-yard drive at the end of a ball game. You're saying, you know, we got an opportunity here. Let's go win this thing.
Well, Ron, I think one thing that jumps out, especially early in this game, is if you're going to be a good team and can play on the road and take your game on the road and win on the road, is you got to be able to run the football and be physical. And you had 21 points in the first quarter before you ever threw a pass. As it was right on the first drive, we went right down the field, running the football. Had the long run by Eugene Bethea, but certainly like the way you come out and establish yourself physically, especially in that first quarter.
Yeah, I mean it's huge, Bill. You know, that's the kind of brand we want to play. You know, you want to control the line of scrimmage, and you do that, you control the game. That's what we preach to those offensive linemen all the time. You control the front, you control the game. And I thought they did a great job, and that's a heck of a way. You know, that's a nice way to start the game. That's a way to answer something. You know, obviously you get a return on us like that, and offense hits the field and answers it right away, and then that gives us a spark and gives us an opportunity to get back.
Then we run right out there and stop him on defense. They punt it to Max. We're up 14-7 as he runs the punt back for a touchdown. And I think maybe the thing that's the most disappointing in the first quarter is it's 21-21, and they had run 2 kickoffs back, but they really done nothing. I mean, offensively, they had a big play on offense, they had a long run, and I think that maybe was the most disappointing, I'm sure for you as well, when you look up and you feel like you're controlling the game, and it's 21-21.
Yeah, and it just goes back to speaking, we try to preach to our kids too, how important special teams are. They're huge. You know, that's why you call them special. And, you know, and there are opportunities to be game breakers. They can flip a game in a heartbeat. And you know, again, I think our guys are buying into that. It's one of the things you also do see a lot of times when you play FBS teams that those guys in space sometimes are, you know, it's a little harder to handle, and those special teams usually becomes the game breaker.
And he can run. I mean, there's no doubt.
He can run, no doubt.
But I know you've had a chance to go back and watch the tape, and I'm sure our fans want to hear this. I mean, obviously this is correctable. One thing that has been a strength of our football team since you've been the head coach here is kick coverage. And one thing that I kept saying during the game was the fact that you don't want to kick it in the end zone. I mean, you want it to land inside the 5 and go down there and tackle them inside the 20. And we did that a couple of times on the night. But obviously, is this something they corrected? Were they overrunning it? I mean, what was going on those couple of kicks?
No, the first one happened. They did open the first one up, and they did a return where they just did a return that we had not prepared for. They actually doubled. It's a pretty odd return. They doubled both 5s, and then what we didn't at the end. The edge guy is supposed to the 3 is supposed to spill it, and he didn't spill it. Stayed outside. It was just like running a power play off tackle. The guys outside, you kicked him out and ran downhill, and then our safety was nowhere. It was out of placement, and then wasn't where he was supposed to be. You know, we were supposed to fold. We were supposed to have a guy who's supposed to fold on us. So we got kicked out in one spot, and the safety didn't fold behind. So once he kicks him out, it's a straight line for the end zone.
So y'all got that? We kicked them out. They folded.
I don't know if I went over too much, but yeah. But that's what happened. It was 2 guys out of spot. One guy didn't kick. One guy didn't fit it right, and the safety wasn't where he was supposed to be.
Well, Ron, let's jump forward. Again, we're not going to go through every score, but I do want to talk about the drive right before the half. We're down 35-28. It looked like maybe they had an opportunity where they had the momentum on their side. Yeah. Looked like they may, have a bigger lead at halftime. We were able to turn them away defense, get the ball back, and drive a really nice drive right before the half and score with inside of a minute. We scored inside a minute both halves, but at the end of the first half, and a nice play call, a nice throw on a 3rd and 1 after a review where it looked like Bethea had got in down there. They took it away, and nice throw to Zeke Jenkins, and we go into halftime 35-35.
Yeah, I thought that was a pretty huge event, and to do that going into the half, and if we got to kick it, it's kind of a downer. I think our offense responded most of the night. I mean, I'm really impressed. I'm pleased, and I'm excited about what they're going to be able to do this year.
We talked a lot about the running game because it was impressive, but also some big plays in the passing game as well. I know Graffi had a few nice catches in the game. Again, the big touchdown to Niger Jackson, and Juwan Dickey is just, I mean, he picked up right where he left off a year ago. It seemed like if you throw it in his catch radius, he's going to make the play, and he made some big plays in this game.
Yeah, I don't know if there's anyone bigger than the one he did on that final drive, the one across the middle where he goes over the top of the kid and steals it from him. That was pretty impressive. And the guys you mentioned, I mean, Jake Graffi's now as a junior. He's a totally different player than he was even last year. Last year's a good player. This year he's pretty special. So we got some experienced guys in those receiving core positions. We got a couple of them are out. I mean, hopefully we're going to get another one back here in another week. He's been out the last couple of weeks, but We got some experienced guys in there. Niger makes a huge catch for the touchdown at the end of the ball game. But then more than anything, they did, like, especially Niger, he did an unbelievable job of blocking all night long. I mean, a lot of those big runs, because he's just, I mean, he's getting after the DBs.
Ron, talk about this for a moment. We're 35-35 at half, and obviously going into the game, you have some new players, you have some veterans. You're telling them all week, they're telling themselves, hey, we can play with these guys, we can beat these guys. I mean, was there any surprise when it's 35-35 at half? I know there was a lot of surprise in the stadium when you talk to their opposing, when you talk to their fans and all that, but certainly your guys played well in the first half, and to go in tied, I'm sure you had to be pleased with that.
Yeah, I mean, we were pretty pleased. I mean, well, like I said, if you give up 2 touchdowns in a kickoff game, you're happy to be tied up at halftime.
Right.
You know, we had 2 kickoff returns for a touchdown, and we're tied up. You know, so we're pleased with that part of it, and have an opportunity to win.
And I believe they had 2 turnovers in the first half as well. I think both fumble and the interception.
Both,
yeah.
So there was some key mistakes there on our part that led up. That, I mean, really, I mean, I thought at that point we probably should have been up by 14. You know, if we, and I knew that in order to play really clean. The one thing about UL, they didn't turn the ball over all day, and that kind of kept them in it. You know, but yeah, I mean, I don't think there was a whole lot of surprise from our veterans. You could tell that a lot of some of the new kids were shocked that we were in this. I don't know if they believed that we were really going to go, you know, play an FBS team and beat them. You know, which is good. It's good, and now it's good. They hopefully get the picture. You know, take care of your business. That's all we told you to do. Just do your job.
Lions and the Cajuns were tied at 35. Let's go ahead and take a break. When we come back, we'll wrap up this game right here on the Ron Roberts Radio Show on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
In Southeast Louisiana, one luxury automobile dealership stands apart from all the rest, Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans. It's more than just offering Mercedes-Benz vehicles, it's Star Service that prides itself on customer relationships.
From valet service and Mercedes-Benz loaner cars, our customers enjoy award-winning Star Service. Come see what Star Service is all about.
Visit Mercedes-Benz of New Orleans on Veterans in Metairie or at mbofno.com.
Across divisions, sports, championships, and schools for nearly 500,000 student athletes. College sports create lifelong opportunity, and that starts with education. We've raised the academic bar, so more are earning degrees, creating healthier campuses by working with the nation's brightest minds, and making sure more have the chance to succeed and are supported on their journey. But beyond the numbers, it's about opportunity, and we're working to provide it for every student athlete.
All right, welcome back inside Topolok Catering. Thank you so much for joining wherever you may be listening to on the network here tonight. This is the Ron Roberts Radio Show. We're halfway home, breaking down the game against UL Lafayette, and in just a few moments we're going to turn our attention to the Lions' home opener as they open up this weekend at Strawberry Stadium in a 7 o'clock kickoff against the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats. So if you don't have your tickets, make sure you get them and come on out. It's supposed to be a beautiful day here in Hammond. But Coach, before we get to that, when we went to break, we're kind of walking through this game a little bit as it's 35-35 at the break. We're getting the ball to start the second half. I know looking back at it, probably wish we could have went down, maybe got the lead back. We could never get the lead back there in the second half.
Right. It's always credit to them. Credit to them what they did, and then we came out of the half, and actually we had that's when we had two of our starters still getting IVs up in the IVs in the locker room, and they weren't down yet. So that kind of that slows you down a little bit.
And I don't know what you can do about that. I mean, you look across college football. I mean, the games have become so long. I mean, they're 3.5, 4 hours long. It's so hot, especially here in South Louisiana. I mean, but if you looked across the country, there was cramping issues all over the country. Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I mean, is there anything else you can do about it? I mean,
no. You take the precautions. You hydrate right, and you get them in shape and that. But I mean, something's going to happen.
So Ron, we actually fall behind in the game, 42-35, and then we put together a very nice drive there in the. I think it was right there at the beginning of the fourth quarter. We scored all 13 of our. all 13 of our points in the fourth quarter. You talked about the big play earlier where. We'd kind of been dinking and dunking all night, and then we took a shot down the field to Juwan Dickey, and he was able to make a play and get us in a position to score.
Yeah, I thought it was a big catch. I think if he sees him a little sooner and gets the ball out sooner, it's probably a touchdown. He was about 7 yards behind the guy, and then just saw it a little late and got the ball out late. But then Juwan just did a great job of coming back on the ball in order to make the play. So it was a big, obviously anytime you get those big chunks, it's pretty huge.
And on that same drive, it's really the first time we were able to see Lorenzo get loose a little bit. He dropped back and had about a 30-yard run, got it inside the 5-yard line. So he kind of showed both of his skills on this possession. A nice throw down the field. He was a little late on, but then used his wheels a little bit as well. And you could tell that's what they were almost afraid of all night, because a lot of the running plays that Eugene was ripping off big runs, Juice was ripping off big runs. They were actually option plays. Correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Yep, they were.
And they were just taking the quarterback, it seemed like, all night, because they were afraid of him running the football.
Yeah, their plan was to make sure he didn't run the football and force us to hand the ball off all night. But obviously we were getting so much movement up front that our backs had plenty of place to go.
Coach, talk about Branson Schwabel just a moment. We talked about Zeke Jenkins earlier, had the big touchdown there in the first half. He had a touchdown catch in this one.
Yeah.
That was one of the themes going into the year. Who was going to really replace Jawan Rogers and his role, what he did a year ago? It was really both of them in this game. I thought that position played well all night. Can you comment on both of those guys?
Yeah, I think they both played really well. Again, and it was probably tough because Zeke had an ankle injury, so he hadn't really practiced in a week and a half. He got practice a little bit Wednesday, did a walkthrough on Thursday, short practice on Friday, and played. But Branson Schwabel took a bigger load than he even really when we thought going in. He had to do a lot of the blocking and stuff up front. Did a great job just being physical at the point of attack, and then again when he is out there, he can catch the ball. He can do a lot of things in space.
Ron, let's jump forward to the last 3 minutes of the game. Let's back up just a minute. It was 49-42. They have the football. We have the ball. Yep. We get stopped deep in our own end, have to punt the ball to them. They have an opportunity where they get the ball inside our territory to really kind of put the dagger in, right. And your defense did a very nice job getting off the field and giving your offense one more shot. I want you to talk about the defense because, again, they had a few opportunities there late in the game to stretch it out on, get it to a 2-score lead. Might not could have got back to the game at that point if they had got it to 2 scores, but your defense was able to stop them.
Yeah, it was a big stop. Again, we get a couple big plays there, especially probably on the 3rd and 1. Sione makes a great play in the backfield to stop them. That's huge, and they go for it on 4th down. They actually do the holding penalty, backs them up, right. And then I thought again that was big for our guys to come up with that stop at that time to give us an opportunity to go down and do what they did.
You mentioned Sione making a play on defense, and one thing that stood out to me was this week, maybe more than he did a year ago. He was usually a year ago kind of standing on the end of the line of scrimmage. You played him more inside, especially there in the second half. Is that something we're going to see more with him? I mean, he's such a big body in the middle of the field, more in the middle of the field or as a rush end?
He's going to do a little bit of both, but yeah, you're going to see him do a little bit more this year. Again, last year, just probably for the sake of, he came in and where we thought he'd be more valuable to us, what he was doing. But now I think he is and he can do a lot of things. So I think we're going to be able to use his ability a little more. And one thing we worked on all spring and all fall camp was him being able to do both.
Well, Ron, let's talk about the final drive here for just a moment as we get the ball back on the 5-yard line. Just about 3 minutes to go in the ball game, and if I'd have told you before the game you were going to have an opportunity with the ball down 7, I'm sure you'd have taken that. I mean, obviously you wouldn't want to be at the 5,
right.
but you start at the 5-yard line.
Yep.
Have a couple of plays, some drive starters, a nice little out to Dickey out there, and a little, I think, hitch to Niger Jackson, but you were able to run the ball and throw the ball in that possession, use your timeouts well, and put yourself in an opportunity to get down the field.
Yeah, I thought it did a great job of executing, great job of Matt Baird, calling plays. Great job of our kids executing it. The biggest thing you kind of know going in early was that our kids really in that huddle. It wasn't, it wasn't a panic. It was they handled it like you talk about how you want them to handle it, and let's just go execute the drive. And I was real pleased with that more than anything. Probably is that obviously when that opportunity comes again, we're gonna be ready for it.
And it just seems like in today's college football, if you're going to win late in these games, these close games on the road, you're going to have to do things like this.
Yeah, you got to do those things.
I can think back, the last few years we've had opportunities to do that and didn't get it done. But here, went down the field, so certainly that was encouraging. I do want to talk about the little scramble play where it looked like Nunez was going to get sacked. He kind of laterals the ball back, and at the time it's one of those no, yes, plays.
Yeah, go.
But it almost saved the game. I mean, if he gets sacked there, we're in big trouble.
Right. And that's like I said, his ability to extend a play and make something happen. That's not what you really draw up. It's not really what you want, but in that situation, he's doing whatever he can to make a first down and keep the ball alive.
Ron, talk about that final throw to Niger Jackson down the right sideline. Again, one of the questions about Lorenzo was, can he throw the football down the field? And the biggest play, the biggest opportunity for him, under a minute to play, down by 7. I mean, you couldn't have thrown that ball any better.
Yeah, that was a great throw, great catch on both parts. And there's several plays in that drive that were like that. Again, that's what it gives you an opportunity when kids, what you always want to say to them is, and I did several times on the drive, was be at your best when your best is needed. And in this drive, that's we needed it, and I thought I was real pleased with how they responded.
All right, the question I'm sure everyone wants to know is, and most people I think agree. I mean, everybody down on the sideline talking about it. If you score, especially with under a minute to play, you're on the road. Do you go for 2? I mean, and you said it today in your press conference that you actually had that decision made before you ever went out there on that final drive. Talk about that decision to go for 2 there, go for the win on the road.
Yeah, I told them and the staff when we cuddled up before I would go 95. I said, we're going to take the ball down and go score, and we're going for 2. And so I told Matt, get your call ready, and let's make sure we're ready to do this. And the decision really is that you score at that time with that time on the clock. When you go to overtime, they can put the ball on the 20, and you're really going to hope to God you get down to the 3 with an opportunity to score. And so we can take a lot of things out of the equation, and their opportunities to touch the ball. The ball's already on the 3, so we got to go 3 yards for a win, and I'm going to take that shot. And I thought, the only thing that came across my mind, honestly, and I'll be honest with it, is that it did cross my mind. Say, hey, do you kick this thing and go to overtime to push an FBS to overtime? Just because for the sake of as a university, we would never beat an FBS. Do you do that just to do that? But I never really played this game much to really please or do that. We're here to win, and our kids wanted it, and they all said the same thing. So I had thought about when I called a timeout to do that. Do I retract this thing and say, hey, let's go kick it? And I was like, nah, let's go end it. Let's go win this thing right now. Thought we were on the thing. Thought we had a play. We were going to have. And we did, and we had a guy. It was wide open, and not to fault him. It's his first time in this situation, but we just missed it. And it happens again. We're going to hit it.
And I thought it was important. When the post game interview with Lorenzo, I mean, he said he was open and I missed him. So he owned it. I mean, and I thought that's important, especially for the leader of his team.
That's huge on his part, and that's what's probably maybe like him more is how he conducted himself on the field on game day, because you don't know until you get those. You actually got him under those pressure situations. How is he going to handle his business on the sidelines, timeouts, all those things? How is he going to handle it? How's he going to handle those pressure situations? And I thought I'd give him an A grade for all that stuff.
Ron, a phrase we haven't said in a few years, but I saw it pop up on Twitter a few times was after the game was don't fear the guardrail, and that was something he used to say all the time. And certainly played the game with no fear. You went for it. It didn't work out. I personally thought it was a pass. Like I thought his arm was going forward. I thought they were going to wave it as an incomplete pass, but they were able to run it back. They didn't see it that way. I mean, that doesn't really matter at this point. It doesn't really matter at that point. But so they win it 51-48, and your kids were very disappointed after the game because I think they know that they're as good or better than the team they just played on Saturday.
Right, and those are the tough ones to swallow when you think you had an opportunity to win it and you didn't. But like I said, either way, I told them after the game was, guys, when you lay it all on the line, you play your hearts out, don't hang your head for anything. You don't ever hang your head and feel disappointed when you gave it all you had. Well, if you came up short because you didn't give your best effort, then there's plenty of reasons to be disappointed with yourself. But in that effort, I don't think at all.
Ron, I asked you this today at the press conference, and I'm going to ask it again here for our listeners, is just walking out of that stadium, and I hate to compare seasons, but walking out of that stadium on Saturday, it just kind of felt the same as when we walked out of South Dakota State in 2013. It's a hard-fought game against a good team on the road. Didn't go our way, but after that game in 2013, it's almost like the light came on, and it was like, hey, we're pretty good. And I know we got a long way to go. We got a lot of things to correct, but you kind of have that feeling a little bit. Maybe your kids walk out of there and say, hey, we're pretty good.
Well, I think there was some kids, again, when we left, that they walked out with a lot of confidence, that, hey, we can play against anybody. And that's good to see. Now, whether that is the same turn of events is going to be how we handled it. How that group handled that in 2013 was, they really want to make sure that didn't happen again. That not that a team that we walked on the field, had an opportunity to beat, and we came up short. And, we won the next 9 straight. And, whether we're going to do that or not, that's up to our ball club and where we're going to focus and where we're going to focus our efforts and how we're going to handle our business. And the only thing to do that is one at a time. The only thing we got is Bethune-Cookman right now.
Certainly so. The Lions will open up at home, the home opener this weekend against Bethune-Cookman. Let's take a break, and when we come back, we're going to turn all our attention to the Wildcats right here on the Ron Roberts Radio Show on the Southeastern Sports Radio Network.
Renday's Quick Stop is a proud supporter of Southeastern Athletics. Located at 306 West University Avenue in Hammond, right across the street from campus, Renday's is conveniently open 24/7 and serves hot Greek and Lebanese food. They also have great snacks for those late-night study sessions. They have friendly service and a wide assortment of wine and beer for all your needs. Stop by today and line up.
NCAA Division I FCS football is a game of perseverance, integrity, passion, character, and sportsmanship. As he works to honor the game, every FCS student-athlete grows in his responsibilities as a student and as a member of his campus and community. Dedicated to personal growth and success in the classroom, the NCAA Division I FCS, every down, every day.
All right, welcome back. We have about 15 minutes to go here on our program. This is the Ron Roberts Radio Show. Thank you so much for joining us here at Tofly Catering. This is our final show of the year on Tuesday night. We will be on Monday nights for the rest of the season from 7 to 8 o'clock. So come on out, enjoy the show, enjoy dinner. Tofly does a great job for us. We're in the catering building right around the corner. And they always have the lunch menu available. So certainly if you have not done so the first 2 weeks, come on out. And we'll be breaking down the Bethune-Cookman game next week. And getting you ready, as it's hard to believe that, with this 11-game schedule and 9 conference games, we'll be in conference in 2 weeks as we're up against Central Arkansas. So this is the final tune-up of the year as far as we're going to be in conference play in a couple of weeks. But, Coach, let's talk about Bethune-Cookman for just a moment. And before we get into those guys, I know your team's going to be excited to come home and play at Strawberry Stadium. Over the last few years, we've made it one of the toughest places to play in the country in FCS football. It's supposed to be an absolute beautiful day. Just kind of looking at the early forecast, it's supposed to be sunshiny. 87 degrees is the high, which is crazy for this time of the year, and 64 the low. So it has a chance to be very, very pretty here in Hammond, and a great afternoon and night for college football.
I think it should be an exciting atmosphere. I'm picturing it 70 degrees and about the beautiful falls you can get, and looking forward to playing in Strawberry Stadium, playing for our own crowd. I know all of our guys are excited. The new guys are excited to get the first taste of it, and veterans are obviously wanting to get an opportunity to do it again.
Ron, this time of the year, it's just something we deal with here in the South as far as storms. And obviously we saw what Hurricane Harvey did to Houston and the Lafayette, the Beaumont area. So we're obviously thinking about those other teams. I'm sorry, not Lafayette, the Lake Charles, Beaumont area. As I know, we're obviously thinking about some of the teams in our conference. But this big thing that's out there right now, Hurricane Irma, that's coming, looks like it's going straight for Florida. And Bethune-Cookman is from Daytona Beach, Florida. So we're certainly going to be thinking about those guys as well. But has there been any talk as far as them getting over here early, something like that? Because I know a lot of people will be getting out of Florida this weekend.
Yeah, they're talking about they may leave early and they may have to stay a little longer. So I know Jay had spoke with their AD today. We're trying to help them out as much as we can, but trying to arrange hotels if they do have to come early or stay later. Yeah. So
certainly we'll be as accommodating as possible with that, is because if anybody knows how to deal with a storm, it's us here in South Louisiana. So certainly we'll be thinking about that community and the whole state of Florida, everybody that could be possibly affected by Hurricane Irma. And we're going to keep obviously our eyes on that and what that thing's going to do and the way it turns and all that. But let's talk about Bethune-Cookman for just a moment. This is a team that played Miami in week 1. They're out of the MEAC over there in Florida. This is a traditionally very good football team. They played very well against Miami. You look at the score, they lost 41-13. This was a much closer game than that, especially in the first half. They're going to be athletic. They're going to be big. And this is a good football team coming in here Saturday.
Yeah, and they do have a tradition of winning. They've been very successful. Last year they had a down year. I think they went 4-7. But 2-3 years ago they were a top 10, top 15 team. I think at one point they were in the top 10, I think around 13 or 14. So they do have a history of being very successful, and they are very talented. I think when it starts with their offense, you talk about they have 3 receivers that are really good players, 17, 15, and 6. And then you talk about their tight ends. They got a couple of 86. They got a couple of really big tight ends, 86, 85, and 83. Those kind of ones that make it go. Defensively, the big ones, you're talking about the big players, really, there are 2 safeties. And 22, and I know his name is, he's up for several FCS Defense Player of the Year awards.
Daquan Richardson.
Yeah, he had 13 tackles versus Miami. And they have a big D lineman inside, 92. That was really wrecking havoc at Miami, with the Miami offensive line all day. So they've got a couple of players that obviously that really stick out to you.
Ron, they're going to play, they did this past week, they played a couple of quarterbacks, and I'm not sure which one they'll play in this game. You look at, and the number 1 guy on their depth chart is number 2, Larry Brim. He's a 5'11", 209-pound redshirt senior, so he's an older guy.
Yeah.
And from I watched some of the game when they played Miami. Really looks like he has command of the offense. I guess talk about X's and O's, what they're going to do, what kind of offense we looked at that they're going to roll out here with on Saturday.
Yeah, they're going to spread offense, and he started a couple of years. So most of the time they're going to be, either 3 wides and a tight end, or sometimes they'll take a tight end, flex them out, or sub it out and be in 4 wide receiver sets. So they really want to they want to throw the football. That's what they want to do. And traditionally, that's what they've done in the past. It's been pretty heavy. And like I said, those receivers are kind of, they go by the way those receivers, majority how well they're doing. They are, I mean, they're not going to throw it every down. They will run the football. They run a little option. That's what they really had success doing against Miami, was when they ran the option on them. The quarterback can run. They have another kid, 10, that's a real, the quarterback. He did not play against Miami. I don't know for what reason, but he didn't play. And he's a bigger kid, 6'4" probably. I don't know, I'm just thinking off the top, 6'4", 210, something like that. But he's pretty dynamic with the ball in his hands. So we'll have that element. So we got to be able to cover the option game up front with the quarterback and be able to contain him. And then obviously the biggest challenge is to be able to contain those receivers, make sure they're not, at least they're not getting the big ones. They don't even throw the ball on top of our heads and make big plays.
This is the Ron Roberts Radio Show as we're breaking down Bethune-Cookman, the Lions' opponent for this weekend, as they open up the home schedule at Strawberry Stadium at the 7 o'clock kickoff as we're going to take on the Wildcats of Bethune-Cookman. And I think sometimes maybe our fans or just anybody around the country, if you hear a name of a team that maybe you're not used to hearing a lot, you'll kind of maybe undervalue what they bring to the table. But Bethune-Cookman, a very good program. They've been good for a long time. Like Coach said, they had a down year a year ago. They battled with a lot of injuries. But from watching them against Miami, they certainly have some players they're going to bring to town. And the thing that jumps off the page to me when I was trying to do some studying on what the Wildcats are going to bring to the table is their size. If you look at their offensive line, if you look at their depth chart, they're going to start 6'7", 330, 6'4", 325, 6'4", 300, 6'3", 340, and 6'4", 318. They got some big men up there blocking for their offense. Certainly, that'll be a challenge for your defense to try to get pressure on their quarterback if they're going to throw the football.
Yeah, they're big, and they're pretty good athletes. They're big guys, and that's a good challenge. We're going to see pretty big offensive lines the majority of the year. In this conference we see pretty big, but that's probably one of the bigger ones that we'll end up seeing. But they're not bigger than probably what we just saw at UL.
Looks like a 4-3 defense. Am I correct on that?
They'll base most things on a 4-3, being an even front team. They'll probably play a lot of man against us. So what you're going to see is they'll probably pack the box, try to stop the run, and which is going to create some one-on-ones and some opportunities. We'll end up taking some shots down the field, and if you win those shots, then you can break the game over pretty big.
Certainly a test for the Lions as Bethune-Cookman, the Wildcats, come to town here. We just have a few minutes left to go on our program as we'll be with you till 8 o'clock. Thank you so much for joining us wherever you may be on the network. As Ron, the last few minutes of the program, I want to turn it back over to us. I know we just talked about Bethune-Cookman, our opponent for this weekend. But what do you want to see, biggest improvements week 1 to week 2 to be able to get this thing where you want to go? Because like I said, this is your final real tune-up before you get into conference play.
Yeah. Well, overall, you want to see us be a little more consistent. If you're starting defensively, there's a couple. We got to tackle a little better. The biggest thing I told them Sunday was, we got to get more guys in the can-do category. We got to get more numbers playing. Some guys we went in, they could have played, but we're not really ready to play, especially at that caliber. They weren't ready to play against them. So, this week they got to get themselves ready to play, and we will play more guys this week than we did last week. And we got to see those guys come in and show us that they're ready to play before we go to conference play.
Ron, as a defensive coach, as the head coach here at Southeastern, how much harder has it become to be a good tackling team out of the gate? Just with the way football's going, there's not as many practices. You can't practice as long. I know you've said it before. You want to get the horses to the race, so you don't want to get people hurt in fall camp. But you do a lot of thud practices where you're hitting, but you're not really bringing people to the ground. Yeah. And certainly you think that your tackling would get better as the year goes on. But you see that all across college football. If you look at some of the scores this weekend, it's because tackling is not very good right now. I mean, is that a challenge when you go into the season here this year?
It's a challenge, and because you don't want to be there tackling your offense all day long and hurting receivers and running backs and that. So it's a fine line what you do, and most of the stuff we do is actually really is in drill situations, and we're drilling, tackling and that stuff, but it's not the same thing. It's getting in that live situation, it's getting that opportunity. So yeah, we're usually early on, you're not as good as you should be by week 3 or 4. But and some of there's regulations the way they're trying to work through some things NCAA wise, but just how they're doing, they're limiting how many times you actually can tackle people. They tell you that nowadays it's actually how many days a week you can do it, and how often you can do it, and then tells us when. If you do it, then you got to take next day's got to be practicing helmets, and there's a lot of the regulations going on right now. Is how can we prepare for games, and it's more so than ever. I think definitely more so than ever in my coaching career.
And I'm sure that has something to do with concussions and protocol and tackling and all
some
that.
of it's. I think it's really good for the game. I think it's good. We're going to go through some adjustment periods doing that as college football, but I think it is good for the game. I think does have an opportunity to keep kids healthier, take care of them. There is an adjustment period as how you're going to get around this thing, how you're going to still get done what you got to get done to be ready to play at a high level.
Ron, you're 4-1 at home openers. We mentioned it. This has become a very tough place to play here at Hammond, as Bethune-Cookman's going to come in here this weekend. We have the Lion Walk and all that. I'm sure it'll be good tailgating and all that. But what has made Strawberry Stadium so special since you've been coaching here at Southeastern?
Wow. Probably maybe just the fan involvement and how they're engagement in from the Lion Walk all the way into just throughout the night in the stadium, the way they interact. I think our players feed off of it. Definitely, it's definitely a lot. I don't know how but I know it's a lot. It's gotten a lot louder every year. And that stadium especially. I know, and when we're winning, it gets louder. So I know that, and it's an impressive game day atmosphere. And it's been huge for our recruiting purposes as well.
Just some reminders for those that just don't remember. Lion Walk about 2.5 hours before kickoff, so approximately 4:30 this week. And again, it's supposed to be beautiful, so get on out there. Let's do some tailgating. It's going to be a great day for college football as the Bethune-Cookman Wildcats come to town as the Lions look to rebound after a tough loss this past week as they went on the road and took on ULL. I think a lot of the in-state teams, a lot of the conference certainly took notice with that performance. I know you would have liked to have the victory, but it just didn't quite work out that way. As Coach, just a couple of minutes left. I guess give us your final thoughts of the night as you put ULL behind you, and then turn the page here to Bethune-Cookman as our final non-conference game. I really wish that would have passed and we could have had 12 games. I know that that's something that they talked about in the off season, but FCS, I know. What's the rule on that? When do you get to play at 12? It's like it's a date.
Yeah, it's a calendar date year, so I think our next one's 2021.
Right. So it's going to be a while. We're going to be playing 11.
But they may pass that.
Hopefully they do.
Really it's going to go back on board for next year for 2018.
Yeah. So hopefully that gets passed. But
I was going to say 12. That was a long time ago. I think it goes back on the board. There's been some push for it to push it again after it got turned down. So I think it's going to come over vote again next year.
And what we're talking about is right now is we're only playing 11 games, but the Southland Conference is actually the leader in FCS football, trying to get that extended to 12 games. The FBS programs all play 12 games, and there for a few years we played 12. It seemed like every year, but it has been 11 the last couple of years. So, Coach, just a couple of minutes left. Give us your final thoughts of the night as we get ready for Bethune-Cookman.
Like I said, I'm excited about this team. I like the character, their attitude, the work ethic, the way they held their business. I love being on these guys, and that's huge. I think we've got a good football team. I think we're going to get better, and that's what we do. We need to get better. If we're going to compete for conference championship, we've got to continue to grow every week that we go out. And the biggest thing is being consistency, and then getting some more guys, some game experience to get them ready to get in there and help contribute and help us win a championship.
All right, Ron, well, thank you so much for being here. I think this brought you a piece of cake and some ice cream there, so I know you're Tophi Catering.
It's great to be back at Tophi.
That's right. That's going to do it for us, as we want to remind you this weekend, if you can't make the trip to Hammond, you can always listen right here on the network, KSOU 90.9, Cajun 107.1 FM, the Highway 104.7, or WFPR 1400 AM. Also, you can always listen at lionsports.net/listen live. And this game is televised on a new network called 11 Sports Network. I believe it's channel 623 on DirecTV. Damon Sunday today said it is now also on Charter, and it will be streaming live on the Southland Conference website. So if you can't come to Hammond, you have all kind of different ways that you can follow your Lions. That's going to do it for us. For Coach Ron Roberts, I'm Alan Waddell. We'll see you Saturday night, 7 o'clock kickoff, as your Lions take on Bethune-Cookman. Good night, everybody. Lion up.